A tech genius from another world was reborn as the fake heiress of a wealthy family, still labeled as a useless illegitimate girl everyone despised. But so what if she started with a terrible hand? She could still flip the table and play the ultimate trump card. So she quickly gave up her position to the real heiress, then took her mother and uncle to rise from nothing to the peak of life, and even started dating a powerful tycoon, getting pampered beyond heaven and earth. In the year 2221, on planet E beyond the Milky Way, the cosmic civilization here had already reached level 5. And at 16, Yizhua had already become the Grand Alliance leader of Chongyue Nation, founder of the Yi Research Institute, and a legend whose medical skills were unmatched. But on the day she went to the lab to check the results, her spacecraft met with an accident, and an alarm suddenly blared, warning that the experiment cabin was about to explode. The members shouted for the Alliance leader to evacuate, but Yizhua was one step too late while trying to save the specimen inside. Then a deafening boom erupted, flames shooting into the sky, and the shattered spacecraft plummeted downward. While in a temple late at night, a noble-looking man happened to witness this brilliant sight. Thinking it was just a shooting star streaking across the night sky, the abbot's appearance disrupted his wandering thoughts, and he asked whether the man planned to return tomorrow. The man nodded helplessly, saying he had to go home for a blind date, and the abbot looked utterly shocked. A man this outstanding was actually being pushed into arranged dates? When Yizhua opened her eyes again, everything felt dreamlike. Was she dead? Where was she? Suddenly, through the mirror, she saw a girl with twin ponytails, heavy makeup, and a flashy Shamate-style look. And with a bang, countless fragments of memory surged into her mind. The original owner of this body was named Muzhua, a rich second-generation heiress admired by everyone. But she had been foolish since childhood, lazy and unstudious, dressing like a non-mainstream street punk every day, the laughingstock of the wealthy circle. Her parents were furious, wondering what sins they committed in a past life to have such a daughter. Until one day the hospital where she had been born called and revealed that the babies had been switched at birth. The news hit like a thunderbolt, draining all the color from Muzhua's world. Her family, who already disliked her, now despised her even more. And from that day on, everything changed. Her parents cursed her as a fake parasite who had stolen another's place, having lived as the Mu family's daughter for 18 years, while their real precious daughter had suffered for so many years in the poor Yi family, and her mother shouted harshly for her to get out immediately. People who already disliked her began pointing fingers, mocking her. Her birth mother was a home-wrecking mistress, and she herself was a fake. None of them were decent people, and that pure and beautiful girl, Yi Yorong, was the real daughter of the Mu family. Her parents happily welcomed their true daughter home, not even sparing a glance at Muzhua, who was about to leave. And her biological mother was a ruined, destitute woman. The home wrecker, everyone called a bad woman. Yizhua fell from heaven to hell, being scolded everywhere as a bastard. Later she was tricked and sold into a pleasure den, suffering all kinds of humiliation. After that, she gave up on herself and blamed every misfortune on her birth mother. The result of her self-destruction was contracting a filthy disease and being despised by everyone. The real daughter even pretended to be kind, tossing a few bills at her to earn a reputation for compassion. But behind her back, she mocked her, gloating that in her next life she should reincarnate as an ant and stop dreaming of climbing branches far above her place. As the dripping water sound echoed, the girl's short and tragic life ended. Yizhua looked at the Shamate-style girl in the mirror, who had the exact same face as hers, and asked whether she was also called Yizhua. The girl looked desolate. "I'm just a fallen imposter. When I died, everyone was happy. They all felt the filthy eyesore was finally gone. Only my birth mother cried for me, giving birth to a child like me. She must have suffered so much. But I really don't have the strength or courage to live through that unbearable life again. I want to beg you for something. I can hand this body over to you. Can you return to the beginning for me, change everything that happens after, and stop my birth mother from crying over me again?" Yizhua asked her calmly why she didn't do it herself. The girl's figure began to blur, and she said urgently, "I used my soul to bring you here. I'm about to disappear forever. Please help my mom." The tech genius paused to think for a few seconds, then raised her hand and made a pact with the girl, agreeing to fulfill her wish. From now on, her identity would be the girl Yijue who had been switched at birth into a wealthy family's life, and all the pain forced onto the original owner. She would return it with interest. A sudden flash of light swept by, and the girl jolted awake, sitting up and gasping for breath. She turned toward the mirror beside the bed, touching that ghostly-looking little face. So this was the world Yijue had reincarnated into. It seemed she was still the Mu family's useless troublemaker at this point. The heiress got out of bed and yanked open the wardrobe, instantly getting a headache. Every single outfit was chamate style. She reluctantly chose 2 barely acceptable pieces and put them on. Since I've become you now, the pain and guilt buried deep in your heart. Let me handle them for you, she thought, pushing open the door and preparing to go downstairs. Gentle music drifted from the hall. The Mu family was hosting a grand banquet, so lively. Today must be the official return of the real daughter. From this moment on, the swapped lives would finally start moving back onto their rightful tracks. After reincarnating, the first thing Yijue saw was the scene of the Mu family's real daughter making her grand return. The guests looked at her with contempt, mocking her non-mainstream street punk outfit and her face painted like a color palette. The Mu family had already found their real daughter, so this fake who stole another's place was surely going to be discarded. Madame Mu shot her a disgusted glare. Didn't I tell you to leave before the banquet started? We've already arranged a place for you. Don't be ungrateful. At that moment, the real daughter, Mu Yorong, called out sweetly, "Mom," and Madame Mu instantly switched faces, putting on a loving motherly smile. This is my biological daughter, the true heiress of the Mu family. Mu Yorong blinked innocently and asked, "Mom, who is that chamate girl?" Yijue rolled her eyes speechlessly. Little White Lotus. They had met during the recognition meeting, and now she pretended not to know her in public, clearly wanting to humiliate her. Sure enough, Madame Mu said, "This is Yijue. You've seen her before." Mu Yorong's eyes reddened as she asked, "She's the one who stole my identity, right? Mom, if you can't bear to drive her away, I can accept her staying." Then she threw herself into her mother's arms, sobbing. Madame Mu comforted her, saying how kind-hearted she was, then shot Yijue another hateful glare. "It's all this little wretch's fault. She isn't even my daughter, yet she clings on shamelessly." Mu Yorong's lips curled in a triumphant smile. She secretly looked over, only to find that the fake was casually stuffing herself with cake like nothing had happened. On the second-floor private seat, the eldest young master of the Li family watched the whole real versus fake heiress drama. Li Qiandong clicked his tongue. "That's your fiancé the elders arranged for you. You really don't have any reaction?" The man across from him wore a plain traditional long robe, fingers turning a string of prayer beads. His face half hidden behind the sheer curtain looked refined and cold, completely ignoring his friend's teasing. Just as everyone waited to see the fake heiress leave the Mu family in disgrace, Yijue, who had just finished eating, suddenly lifted her head. "Sorry to interrupt everyone's enjoyment of the banquet. I just came to inform Aunt Mu that I'm leaving now." The onlookers were in an uproar, unable to believe she would willingly give up a life of riches and walk away. Young Master Li looked at her face covered in red and green makeup and grew curious. Compared to the real heiress, this fake really did look tragic. Didn't they say she clung shamelessly and refused to leave? Good thing the real heiress is pretty, otherwise, fifth brother, you would have had to marry an ugly monster while holding your nose. The man shot him a sideways glance and said calmly, "If you stop talking, no one will mistake you for a mute." That shut his friend up instantly. Fifth brother was still just as terrifying. At the same time, Mu Yorong noticed something about Yijue that felt different from the previous life. But when she saw the girl staring longingly at food, the foodie look made her dismiss that thought. It had to be her imagination. This woman was still as stupid and ugly as before. Yes, she too had been reborn. Returning to the Mu family early this time was all to control this idiot ahead of time. In her previous life, she had been blind and married a beast in human skin, suffering abuse until she died miserably. In this life, she would definitely keep this wretched girl and make her marry that beast in her place. Thinking of this, she called out to Yijue. Acting magnanimous, she said, "I know you don't actually want to return to that shabby family house. You can't bear to leave the luxury of the Mu family. Before, in order to stop me from coming back, you did all sorts of awful things. Even though you ruined 18 years of my life, I don't want to make our parents sad. Stay. Let's not fight anymore. Let's honor our parents together and repay them for raising us. Oh. These seemingly virtuous filial-sounding T-words drew waves of praise. Compared to her, the fake heiress looked like a heartless ingrate with low-born greed flowing in her veins. In front of the guests, she gently persuaded the fake heiress to stay in the Mu family, while her schemes rattled loudly in her heart. She wanted to provoke that little wench until she snapped, so tomorrow the city's elite circle would all hear how kind and magnanimous the real heiress was, and how greedy and vulgar the impostor was. But unexpectedly, the fake heiress possessed by the soul of an interstellar tech genius, Yizhua, suddenly let out a laugh. First of all, the culprit behind these 18 years of swapped lives was the hospital that mixed us up. Not me. Second, you want me to stay and repay the Mu family's kindness. Then why don't you stay in the Yi family to repay my birth mother? Mu Yorong turned away, suddenly felt a wave of panic. This girl was clearly Yizhua, so why did she feel so different from the previous life? Yizhua suddenly showed an I see expression. So Miss Mu is also someone who despises the poor and loves the rich. You can't bear to leave the Mu family's luxury. I wonder if you'd still be willing to go back. In the second-floor balcony, young Master Li laughed openly. This fake heiress is pretty interesting. And the cold, elegant man across from him couldn't help the slight curve rising at the corner of his lips. Mu Yorong understood that only by acting weak could she gain sympathy. Choking up, she said, "You're so cruel. I just didn't want you to hurt this family. I only wanted harmony with our parents. I didn't expect your heart to be so dark." Seeing her daughter sobbing, Madame Mu's heart ached. She glared harshly at Yizhua and scolded her for being so malicious. Yizhua really didn't want to watch their mother-daughter act any longer. "Since you feel so much pain for your daughter, I'm in a hurry to return to my birth mother as well. Please comfort Miss Mu properly. Don't worry, I won't take anything away, including the so-called love that never existed from you and Mr.Mu." Exposed publicly for her fake kindness, Madame Mu wished she could strangle her and throw her out of the Mu family immediately. Yizhua smiled lightly. "I'm ready. I'll leave on my own. After all, this house never had anything worth my attachment." The two business tycoons watching the scene suddenly stood up, both gazes falling on that rebellious, punk-styled girl. At the same time as Yizhua stepped toward the door, she faintly sensed the strong oppressive gaze from the upper floor. The man holding the prayer beads curved his lips and quickly hid behind the curtain. "Little brat, she really is like a sharp, alert kitten." The long silent head of the Mu family suddenly stepped forward. "Words mean nothing. Since you've decided to leave, sign this severance document. I don't want to see you begging later and trying to return to the Mu family." The guests whispered among themselves. In Huaxia, an adopted daughter still has inheritance rights. The Mu family was doing this to prevent her from returning later with greedy intentions to divide their property. Yizhua let out a cold laugh. "So my foster parents had already prepared the severance papers." She took the document and signed her name without hesitation. Mu Yorong was surprised to see her sign so quickly. This little wench was crying and clinging before. Wasn't she the one who refused to leave the Mu family? After signing her name, Yizhua suddenly felt that terrifying pressure again. She looked around alertly but found no suspicious person. The business tycoon watched the scene and called to his friend. "Let's go home." Li Qiandong hurriedly jogged after him. "Aren't you going to meet the real heiress? Such a pretty and cute fiancé. You have no interest at all? Or do you already have someone you hold in your heart?" The man stopped coldly. "I didn't before and I never will in the future." Young Master Li complained inwardly, that same familiar, none of my business, indifferent face again. But thinking about it, ever since he met fifth brother, the man never went near women. Aside from work, his greatest hobby was running to temples. Wait, don't tell me his true love is actually a bodhisattva. Oh no, even thinking that feels sinful. So he quickly put his hands together and prayed silently, hoping the bodhisattva wouldn't blame him. Mu Yorong stared in the direction where Yizhua disappeared, her eyes filled with venomous hatred. Madame Mu let out a relieved sigh. That eyesore finally left. "Good child, let's be happy now." Though unwilling, Mu Yorong thought again. She was now the true young lady of the Mu family, and she could crush that little wench into dust any time. With a loud bang, the door slammed shut. The fake heiress Yizhua was completely swept out of the Mu family. Passing through the bustling downtown area, she used the original owner's memories to find her birth mother. In a rented, run-down neighborhood, a pale-faced middle-aged woman opened the door. Staring at the girl in disbelief for a long moment, Yishua called out sweetly, "Mom, I'm back." Using the original girl's memories, Yishua found her birth mother, who had been crying non-stop ever since she saw her. And now it had been half an hour as she sobbed and said it was all her fault, that she was a useless mother. Yishua finally couldn't take it and interrupted, "I'm thirsty." Mother Yi quickly wiped her tears and looked up. "Mom will get you water right away." Watching the woman walk into the kitchen, Yishua finally took a good look at the shabby home. A three-legged table and ancient black and white TV. Life here was truly dirt poor. Mother Yi soon brought a cup of warm water. Yishua accepted it with both hands and sweetly said, "Thank you, Mom." Unexpectedly, the woman covered her face and started crying again, leaving Yishua confused, because the first time the original owner came home, Mother Yi also brought her water just like today. But Yishua had looked disgusted and smashed the cup, saying even her face washing used Evian mineral water, and asking if this tap water was meant to poison her, even shouting she didn't need such a shameful mother. And the reason Mother Yi was moved now was that although her daughter still had heavy makeup like a ghost, her attitude was completely different. Being stared at so intently made Yishua a bit uncomfortable. She put down the cup and asked if there was a bathroom. She was sweaty and wanted a shower. Mother Yi finally came back to herself. "It's in the back, I'll take you." Compared to before, her daughter was so much better that she felt relieved. Yishua took a long, comfortable shower, washing off the heavy makeup and the colorful dye from her hair. Looking at the clean, fresh, beautiful face in the mirror, she finally looked like herself again. She changed into the clothes Mother Yi had bought for her and couldn't help frowning, probably because she was used to luxury brands. Wearing this rough fabric suddenly made her feel uncomfortable all over. It seemed this body was more delicate than she thought. She needed to earn money fast and improve this poverty-stricken home. Just as she stepped out of the bathroom, she heard an excited male voice. "Sis, come out quick, look what I bought. We can have a feast today." The middle-aged man held a big watermelon in one hand and half a roast duck in the other. It was Mother Ye's younger brother. Yi-sun rambled on for a while before finally noticing the girl behind her, and asked in shock, "Who's this pretty girl?" Mother Yi introduced them with a smile. Yishua politely greeted, "Hello, uncle." Yi-sun looked as if he'd seen a ghost. "It's Mujua?" He remembered this kid. Her face used to be covered in red and green makeup, dressed like a little delinquent. He never expected her bare face to be this pretty. The girl corrected him word by word. "I'm called Yishua now." Yi-sun quickly pulled his sister behind him. He asked warily, "You're not playing tricks again, are you?" Then whispered to his older sister, "Don't let this ungrateful brat fool you again." Mother Yi quickly smoothed things over with a smile. "Zhuozhua is my daughter. How could she ever bully me?" Yi-sun let out a cold snort. "Who knows, maybe she's just like Mu Yorong, both heartless brats." Mother Yi picked up the sheets and blankets. "There are noodles in the pot. Hurry and eat. I'll go make the bed for Zhuozhua." Yishua rushed to take them. "I can make it myself." Hearing that, Mother Yi cried from joy. Her daughter had really grown up and become sensible. Yishua was speechless, crying again. She quickly comforted her mother. "From now on I'll be filial to you and I'll make sure you live a good life." This was also her promise to the original owner, never letting Mother Yi suffer again. Slurping down his noodles loudly, Yi-sun still didn't quite trust this niece. Changing appearance was easy, but personality wouldn't change instantly. That he had to stay alert, not letting this troublesome girl hurt his sister. Meanwhile, the real heiress who returned to the Mu family was enjoying a completely different scene. Madame Mu opened the wardrobe and pointed at a row of new clothes. "Do you like them? If not, Mom will get you new ones." Mu Yorong happily touched the luxury brand outfits and obediently said she liked all of them. Lying on the soft, comfortable bed, she sighed. Only a wealthy life like this was worthy of her. A pity that little wench Yishua escaped. But it didn't matter. Now she was just an ant beneath her feet. Crushing her wouldn't even require lifting a finger. Her top priority was to find Yishua's mysterious fiancé from the previous life, that business tycoon standing at the top of power, and make him kneel under her princess dress. The fake heiress who was kicked out of the mansion returned to her own family, just like the real heiress did. Yet nobody expected that the fake heiress living in the slums was actually a hidden gambling master. At midnight, a figure quietly pushed open the door. He looked around sneakily, and when he confirmed no one was watching, he let out a long breath. Luckily, he had slipped out successfully. Just then, a voice suddenly sounded behind him. "Uncle, where are you going this late at night?" Yisun was so startled he almost screamed. Yijue reacted quickly, covering his mouth. "Keep it down. If my mom hears it, neither of us will get out." Seeing it was this little white-eyed wolf, Yisun sighed in relief and snapped, "Get lost, I'm just a poor guy. I don't deserve to be the uncle of some rich young lady like you. Go home and sleep." Yijue didn't get angry at all. She simply followed behind him as calmly as if taking a stroll. Seeing she clung to him like glue, Yisun exploded, "Are you crazy? Why are you following me?" Yijue smiled lightly. "The road doesn't have your name on it. If you can walk it, so can I." Yisun was speechless and could only curse while running ahead, with Yijue chasing right behind. Soon the two arrived at the brightly lit Royal Club of Yunjing. Her uncle waved dismissively, "Stop following me. Go home." Yijue looked at the luxurious entrance and thought this place wasn't bad at all. She stepped forward, deciding to earn her very first pot of gold right here. They made their way into the underground casino. Inside it was smoky and chaotic, yet crowded and lively. Standing at the table, Yisun pressed his palms together, praying devoutly, "Bodhisattva bless me, God show a miracle. Please let my luck finally change. When I win big, I'll burn incense and donate offerings." Suddenly he felt a pair of eyes staring at his back, and he slowly turned around. He jumped nearly a meter high. "Little ancestor, why did you follow me?" Yijue looked around with curiosity. Just looking, she hadn't expected her cheap uncle to be a gambling addict. Clearly she couldn't bring him in on any money-making plans. Yisun waved her away impatiently. "Get lost, go home." But Yijue ignored him and walked straight toward the gambling table. She had no intention of partnering with someone whose character was questionable. Furious, Yisun grabbed her collar. "Is this a place a little girl like you should be in?" A cold glint flashed in Yijue's eyes. She was considering whether to dislocate his arm first. Just then, a middle-aged man with a fierce expression slammed the table. "Are you playing or not? If you want to argue, take it outside." Yisun immediately let go and muttered, "We'll play a couple of rounds." Yijue's ears twitched as she focused on the sound of the dice colliding. Though this cheap uncle was a useless gambler, she still didn't want her mother's brother to lose everything. She couldn't help but whisper, "If I were you, I'd bet small. 1-3-4. Yisun shot her a disdainful look. This little girl was teaching him how to gamble. He stiffened his neck and firmly chose big. After everyone placed their bets, the dealer lifted the cup. 3-1 for small. Yisun was stunned. That brat had actually guessed right. After losing 3 rounds in a row, the dealer shook the dice again and asked whether to bet big or small. The cheap uncle hurriedly grabbed his niece, who was about to walk away. "Hurry, what should I pick this round?" Yijue glanced sideways at him. "I don't want to talk to a gambling addict." Yisun snapped, "You think I want to gamble? If that heartless Muyurong didn't push me so hard, sis, I wouldn't be here dreaming of getting rich overnight." Then he suddenly realized he had said too much and slapped a hand over his mouth. Yijue, however, heard something deeper hidden in his words. So she turned back to the table, deciding to help him once. She focused for a few seconds, then whispered, "This round small again, 1-2 points." Staring at his last 300 yuan, Yisun knew whether he would turn things around depended on this one bet. Gritting his teeth, he went all in. He stared unblinking as the dealer opened the cup. Yijue was right again. He threw himself over the pile of chips, ecstatic. Meanwhile, the others wore miserable expressions. After 9 consecutive rounds of small, they had lost so much their pants were nearly gone. Completely convinced, Yisun's eyes sparkled as he asked, "So, next round, big or small?" Yijue listened quietly for a few seconds. 1-1, still small. As expected, she won big again. The two kept winning round after round, drawing a crowd around the table. They also caught the attention of a man on the second floor. The man wore a traditional Chinese robe, fingers rolling a string of Buddha beads, his whole presence radiating a stay-away aura. His friendly Qiandong stared in shock. "It seems that girl behind him is the one giving hints. She guesses right every time. How is that even possible? This is insane." The man's lips curved. "Didn't recognize her?" Li Xiao asked in confusion. "You know her? I didn't expect a small place like Yunjing to have such a stunning beauty." Could she be fifth brother's destined girl? The man cut off his friend's gossip right away, guessing she was Yishua. Li Qiandong nearly toppled over the railing in shock. Rubbing his eyes, he stared at the girl. You mean she's that fake daughter from the Mu family? So she couldn't survive after being kicked out of the rich house and came here fishing for a rich husband? Wait, the richest bachelor here is standing right in front of us. Don't tell me she came here for fifth brother. Rolling the Buddha beads between his fingers, the man turned and said, "Let's go." Then he stepped out of the private room. The moment he appeared in the hall, every gaze turned toward him. 12 years ago, the Tsin family's head died suddenly, and the 18-year-old Tsin Shaoqing returned from the capital to Yunjing. With astonishing business talent, he took charge alone and transformed the Tsin family into the top clan in Huaxia. Even the high-ranking elites in the capital address him respectfully as Fifth Master Tsin. Rumor had it that he was solitary and eccentric, not only avoiding women but also running to temples all the time. The Tsin matriarch feared her only grandson would truly become a monk, so she pressured him to fulfill the old marriage agreement with the Mu family. The moment Fifth Master Tsin appeared at the royal club, he drew every gaze in the room. His follower Li Qiandong glared fiercely at the chattering women who dreamed of clinging to power, scaring them into rushing off to fix their makeup. He then remembered the fake daughter who had just been kicked out of the Mu family yet showed up in the casino, turning from a gaudy delinquent into a gambling genius. Fifth brother had devoted himself to spiritual practice for years and knew nothing about women. That girl looked harmless but wasn't. Maybe she came targeting him. He must protect naive fifth brother from being fooled by that temptress. Tsin Shaoqing heard his friend muttering behind him and wondered if this guy was actually an idiot. The fake daughter and her bargain bin uncle won big in the casino, and an excited Yisun followed with his arms full of cash. "Niece, you finally won so much. Why stop now?" Yishua didn't even look back. "Everything must have limits. Don't be greedy. We're going home." But just as they stepped out of the club, several street thugs blocked their way. "Hey pretty girl, don't rush off. Brother Leopard wants to take you out for a late-night snack." They hadn't seen such a gorgeous chick in ages. Yishua lifted her eyelids lazily. It seemed this face would still attract unnecessary trouble. She was just about to loosen her joints properly. A figure suddenly dashed past from behind. He kicked the leader straight out 3 meters away. Spreading his arms like a protective bull, he stood in front of the girl. "Dare bully my niece? You must be tired of living on the streets." The man on the ground grimaced in pain and was about to curse, but froze the moment he saw who it was. "Mad Yi, no brotherson, didn't know you had a niece." Yisun put a hand on his hip. "Cut the crap. Hurry up and apologize to my niece." Brother Leopard quickly bowed with his men. Our fault, we didn't recognize the honored niece." Yishua didn't bother dragging it on. She turned and called to her uncle, "Let's go." Looks like this so-called uncle wasn't as bad as she imagined. Hearing her call him uncle, Yisun looked flattered. The girl gave him a speechless glance, still kind of dumb. She really overestimated this bargain bin uncle. She stretched out her hand. "Give me half of tonight's winnings." Why? Yisun asked, confused. "A little girl like you, what do you need that much money for?" "Mom's health is bad. I need to take her to the doctor and buy medicine." Hearing it was for his sister's treatment, the uncle immediately shoved all the money into her hands. The girl looked at the cash. "You trust me that much? Aren't you afraid I'll run away with it?" Yisun stared at her. "I think you're different from that white-eyed wolf Muyong. I hope I didn't misjudge you. Don't let me down." Yishua's brows curved as she nodded. At that moment, a blinding white beam shone from not far away. Inside the Rolls-Royce sat a tall, slender figure holding Buddha beads, resting with eyes closed. As the car passed the girl, his eyes opened slightly, and his cold lips lifted into a faint curve. Yishua turned her head instinctively, meeting his gaze directly. Li Qiandong looked at the rearview mirror, his jaw dropping. Was he hallucinating? That emotionless, thousand-year ice block actually smiled. Tsin Shaoqing rubbed his temples and suddenly said, "Spread the news that the Tsin family returned to Yunjing because the capital chain broke and bankruptcy is near." Li Qiandong wore a full question mark face. Didn't the Tsin family just rank first among national conglomerates? Since when are we bankrupt? Seeing his confusion, Tsin Shaoqing said casually, "Tomorrow morning, Grandma and Xiangyi will go to the Mu family for the recognition visit." Li Xiao instantly understood. fifth brother would use the bankruptcy mirror to force all the demons and monsters to reveal their true colors. He just didn't know whether fifth brother would also go to meet the legendary fiancé. Meanwhile, the real Mu family daughter was excitedly choosing dresses at home. Her mother told her that an important guest would visit tomorrow, and she must prepare well because this would be the beginning of her glorious new life. Early the next morning, Ye's mother woke up to cook rice porridge, worried her daughter wouldn't be used to it, and added 2 boiled eggs. The fake daughter Yishua went out for a morning run. The original owner's body was far too weak, so she planned to train slowly, step by step. Returning home, she handed her mother the fried dough sticks and meat buns she bought along the way. Ye's mother asked in surprise where her daughter got the money, since they were so poor they could barely afford meat a few times a year. Just then, the bargain bin uncle walked out yawning. "Sis, don't worry that I just got my monthly bonus and gave my niece some pocket money." Ye's mother rubbed her eyes in disbelief. She then saw her brother pull her daughter down to sit, saying the big niece was growing and needed more nutritious food. Watching the two put on this unbelievable scene, she wondered if her silly brother had been possessed. Yesterday he called her a white-eyed wolf, and today she became big niece. She hesitated and asked, "You're not running a fever, right? Why are you suddenly treating Xiaozhua so well?" With a righteous look and a sunny smile, Yisun said, "Come on, Zhuozhua is my real niece, and if I don't treat her well, who else would I treat well?" Yi mother was speechless, suspecting he was acting, but she had no proof. After the meal, Yishua put down her chopsticks and said, "Your complexion doesn't look good, I'll go with you to get a full checkup later." Yi mother smiled and shook her head. "Going to the hospital costs money." "Mom is fine, really." Yishua placed her fingers on her pulse. "I happen to know a bit of traditional medicine. If you don't want to go to the hospital, I can check you myself." Yi mother paused and asked if her daughter understood traditional medicine. The girl modestly said she only knew a little. In the other world, she had been a world-famous divine doctor. Yi mother's pale face was far from normal, weak, malnourished, and suffering from a persistent cough. Yishua then asked if she had donated blood before. The cheap uncle cut in first. "Donated? More like sold her blood." Yi mother wanted to stop him, but Yisun spilled everything angrily like pouring beans from a bamboo tube. A year ago, the vain Mu Yorong went on a hunger strike to force the family to buy her a fruit phone. Afraid something would happen to her daughter, Yi mother went to an illegal clinic and sold her blood to buy that phone, making her already weak body even worse. Later, Mu Yorong escalated things, urging her mother to sell a kidney for a new house and spreading lies everywhere, calling Yi mother a shameful mistress. Yisun never understood why such a kind sister would raise such an ungrateful brat. Until the Mu family showed up. Then he realized that White-Eyed Wolf wasn't his sister's biological daughter. After returning to her birth family, she turned against the Yi family, making Yi mother's years of devotion a joke. Fortunately, all that misery was in the past, and the daughter who returned was sensible and well-behaved. She said with satisfaction that having their family together now was the happiest thing. Yishua looked at her mother with a complicated gaze. She had only ever seen such great maternal love in novels. In the future world she came from, society had evolved into social reproduction. Humans used test tube embryos, placed them in artificial wombs, and children were raised uniformly by institutions. Gifted children were selected for special training. When grown, they were assigned to different industries based on their abilities, never knowing what family affection meant. Seeing her daughter staring blankly, Yi mother reached out and touched her forehead. She asked with concern if she was feeling unwell. Yishua held her mother's hand, gently rubbing it. So this was how warm a mother's hand could be. The long-lost tenderness almost made Yi mother cry again. Yishua finally understood why the original soul had been willing to trade places with her. Because Mu Yorong did not deserve such precious motherly love, and she decided to honor this mother properly from now on. She took out pen and paper and quickly wrote down a prescription, handing it to Yi mother. "Go to the hospital and get these herbs and brew them as instructed. Tomorrow I'll go with you to resign from the skewer shop. I'm worried your health might put your life in danger." Yi mother looked at the prescription half doubtful, but the cheap uncle was startled. "Sis, illness is that serious?" Yi mother brushed it off, saying children talk nonsense, while Yisun shook his head like a rattle drum, completely convinced. This niece was truly uncanny. Knowing her mother was worried about money, Yishua comforted her. saying money wasn't an issue. She had just borrowed 10,000 from a classmate and planned to invest in stocks. Ye mother's jaw dropped. You're just a kid and you know stocks? The cheap uncle feared Yijua might slip up, so he hurriedly pulled out all the cash from his wallet. And I'm here too. This is my salary and bonus from yesterday. From now on, all my monthly earnings will be handed to you. Long pain is worse than short pain. She couldn't let the original host's mother keep suffering. Hardening her heart, Yijua said, if you insist on working, I'll leave this home immediately. After saying that, she turned to leave without hesitation, but the cheap uncle rushed up and hugged her leg tightly. Crying and wailing, he said, Big niece, don't go, our family finally reunited, we can't fall apart again. Then he turned to his older sister, say something. Yi mother hesitated for a moment, then finally nodded. Yijua pushed the uncle away without mercy, lifted a small smile and said, tomorrow I'll go with you to complete the resignation procedures. While the fake daughter's family was warm and harmonious, the real daughter's wealthy family was shrouded in gloom. The head of the Mu family had just received the news this morning that the Tsin family had returned to Yunjing, and rumor said the Tsin family was in a financial crisis and on the verge of bankruptcy. Madame Mu was in disbelief. Tsin family was coming to visit today, surely regarding the childhood engagement between their fifth son and her daughter. Yorong must not throw herself into that burning pit. The head of the Mu family looked extremely displeased. Bringing up marriage at a time like this clearly meant they wanted to use the engagement to patch their broken cash flow. Little did they know their entire conversation was overheard clearly by Mu Yorong, hiding behind a second-floor pillar. She was half skeptical. How did the powerful Tsin family suddenly fall into bankruptcy rumors? Could it be that her rebirth changed everyone else's fate as well? She had lived her life again to enjoy wealth and glory, not to suffer through hardships again. Besides, she believed she was a phoenix destined to soar the 9 heavens, meant to marry a man standing at the top of the pyramid. The fallen, bankrupt Tsin fifth master was not worthy of her. Thinking of this, she slowly walked downstairs and told her parents that the Tsin family's shameless behavior was no different from a toad wanting to eat swan meat. Madame Mu looked at her daughter lovingly and said, "Don't worry, your father and I know what to do." At that moment, the servant came in to report that old Madame Tsin and Madame Tsin had arrived. Mu Yorong sneered, "So fast. Truly impatient. Already on the verge of bankruptcy yet still dreaming of marrying me. Watch how I kick these paupers out." Old Madame Tsin, afraid her only grandson would actually become a monk, hurried to the Mu household to discuss the childhood engagement set years ago. The dignified old lady spoke bluntly, saying, "We're all one family. Let's not beat around the bush that we're here specifically for the children's marriage." The smiles on the Mu couple's faces instantly stiffened. More than 20 years ago, the Mu family had been on the brink of bankruptcy, and it was the Tsin patriarch who funded them and helped them rise again. To repay the favor, the Mu family set an engagement and exchanged tokens. Now that the Tsin family's cash flow had broken, they were nowhere near what they used to be. Just as the Mu family was thinking about how to send the 2 elderly women away, the sound of heels clicked through the hall. The real daughter, Mu Yorong, dressed impeccably, walked down from the stairs. Madame Mu held back her impatience and told her daughter to come greet the elders of the Tsin family. Mu Yorong obediently said hello. Old Madame Tsin was delighted. "Such a pretty girl, truly a good match for our fifth." A hint of disgust flashed in Mu Yorong's eyes. "I'm only 18. I don't want to think about marriage yet. And your Tsin family is such a prestigious household. How could someone as ordinary as me possibly deserve Mr. Tsin?" Madame Tsin frowned slightly, sharply sensing that something in her tone and expression was off. But the old lady didn't think much of it, waving her hand with a smile. "You deserve him, of course you do. Don't worry. Since the engagement was set, our Tsin family will never go back on our word. Shaoqing will definitely marry you." Hearing this, Mu Yorong's expression changed. This old woman had no vision at all. Clearly it was Tsin Fifth who wasn't worthy of her, yet she made it sound like she was trying to climb up. Seeing their utter lack of awareness, she stopped pretending altogether. "Since you both came today, let's make things clear. Right now I only want to focus on my studies. I don't want distractions. So this childhood engagement should be cancelled." After all, it was no longer the feudal era of arranged marriages. Hearing that she wanted to break the engagement, both elder ladies froze. If not for keeping a promise from years ago, Why would the Tsin family ever choose to marry into a small family like the Muse? And that girl's disdainful expression. Why did she look like she suffered a huge loss? Seeing his daughter reject the engagement outright, the Mu family head quietly sighed in relief and followed up. I only have this one precious daughter. She may be a bit spoiled, but if she's unwilling, we as parents can't force her. Besides, a melon twisted off by force won't be sweet. Let's just forget about this marriage. Madame Tsin kept a polite smile. Canceling an engagement isn't a trivial matter. Our two families have years of ties. The Mu family head cut her off bluntly. Sister-in-law, one should know their place. We've already said things clearly. You're a smart woman. Why pretend not to understand? The two women exchanged confused looks. They couldn't figure out what was going on. Why did every word imply that the Tsin family wasn't good enough? The Mu family had no longer bothered to beat around the bush. I heard your Tsin family is facing a financial crisis. And yes, we remember that when our Mu family was in trouble you lent a helping hand. But you can't use that to pressure us with favors, can you? Madame Tsin was full of question marks. Their group was perfectly fine. When did they ever fall into a financial crisis? The old lady suddenly understood. So this was why they wanted to break the engagement. She asked, then what do you intend to do? The Mu family head beckoned to a servant pushing a small cart. The maid placed 2 full boxes of cash and a dragon-shaped jade pendant on the table. Back then, when the Mu family was in crisis, Brother Haifeng lent us 10 million for emergency use. Today we double it along with the token and return everything to you. The two women looked at each other. Clearly, the Mu family was determined to cancel this marriage. In the end, the old lady spoke in disappointment. Since you are unwilling, we won't force it. Madame Tsin cursed angrily. The Mu family is ungrateful and shameless. We don't want your filthy things. As she spoke, she took another engagement jade pendant from her bag and smashed it onto the floor. From today on, our family's engagement is void. Ties cut clean. You'd better not regret it. Mu Yorong's eyes carried mockery. Auntie, you should just take the money. Don't act tough now and regret it the moment you walk out. She had no intention of being tied to a declining family like the Sens. Madame Tsin, filled with anger, grabbed the jade pendant on the table. I'm only taking back our Tsin family's token. Miss Mu doesn't need to worry about anything else. Then she supported the old lady and turned to leave, cursing that this entire family judged people by their wealth and was utterly disgusting. The old lady patted her daughter-in-law's hand, comforting her. Don't be angry. Misfortune may bring its own blessing. At least we've seen their true colors. Madame Tsin was still fuming. If a woman like that married into our home, it'd ruin Xiaoqing's whole life. This engagement is over. Should we return to the capital now? The old lady shook her head. Xinjing is my birthplace. A wonderful place blessed with people and land. I insist on staying here to find Xiaoqing a granddaughter-in-law who's 10,000 times prettier and better than Mu Yorong. Then we'll return to the capital in glory. As she worried about where to find a girl who could make her grandson fall head over heels, a girl carrying a tray of barbecue by the roadside caught her attention. The girl wore a server's short skirt and 2 little bare hair clips. Bright, youthful, sweet, and adorable. The old lady fell in love with her at first glance. Madame Tsin noticed her mother-in-law staring out the window without blinking and asked curiously, "What are you looking at?" The old lady smiled and said it was nothing, thinking that the young girl just now was simply too pretty. When looking for a granddaughter-in-law, the standard should at least be like that. Any child born with her and the 5th grandson would definitely be good-looking. Back at the Tsin family's old house, the grandson who'd been talked about all day suddenly sneezed for no reason. His little sidekick Li Xiao poked his head out and asked, "Fifth brother, did you catch a cold?" Xin Xiaoqing shook his head slightly and said he was fine, thinking that grandma and his mother should be almost done with the proposal visit to the Mu family. Meanwhile, the fake rich daughter Yizhua had returned to the slums, changed into the coarse new clothes her mother bought, and dragged her mom out to quit that miserable barbecue shop job. Ye's mother thought of their financial situation and forced herself to say her body was actually fine. Yizhua blinked her big watery Kazalan eyes. "Mom, you promised me yesterday." Her mother was instantly defeated by her daughter's cuteness. The child had just come home, no way she could let her be sad. The mother and daughter walked together to the barbecue shop not far from home. A few gossiping women saw them and immediately huddled up, whispering that the little girl looked lovely, but unfortunately she was an unwanted illegitimate child. After all, her mother lowered herself to be someone's mistress and dragged her daughter into being pointed at and judged. Ye's mother's face turned ugly and she was about to step forward to argue. But Yijua pulled her back. "We stand straight. No need to fear shadows. Be ye upright. There's nothing to explain." Ye's mother's eyes reddened as she nodded. The shop owner heard they were here to resign, put her hands on her hips and complained, "It's summer break, our busiest season. Where am I supposed to find new staff right now?" Yijua gave an apologetic little smile. "How about I work in my mom's place for a month so you have time to hire someone?" Her mother reached out in distress, trying to stop her. But the shop owner lit up instantly. With such a cute and pretty girl, it was basically the best living advertisement. She grabbed Yijua and pulled her into the shop. "I have uniforms ready. Go change and try it on right now." And while Yijua worked hard, she had no idea that the wealthy grandmother searching everywhere for a granddaughter-in-law had already quietly set her sights on her. The exclusive luxury car sped all the way back to the grandson family estate. 2 rows of servants bent down in perfect sync to welcome the old lady and the madam home. The old lady's hope of bringing back a future great-granddaughter-in-law fell through, so she sighed and said she would start strolling around Yunjing tomorrow to pick a suitable candidate. Her daughter-in-law cheered her up, saying they'd return to the capital in style when the time came. Then she suddenly remembered something. The fake rumor about the Tsin Corporation falling into a financial crisis. Was it you who spread it? The old lady shook her head in confusion. "I thought it was you." Just as the 2 women stared at each other, unable to figure it out, a steady voice suddenly sounded. "I arranged for it." How did the Mu family react? A tall man holding prayer beads stepped out of the study. At the mention of the Mu family, Madame Tsin instantly grew angry that they're so snobbish. Once they heard our capital chain broke, they immediately distanced themselves from us. Tsin Shaoqing showed neither surprise nor anger. He calmly walked to the incense burner to light incense. And seeing her son so detached, Madame Tsin grew even angrier. "How can you have no reaction at all? Your grandma and I suffered all that for you." Tsin Shaoqing glanced back, speaking lightly. "Being angry with people like that only lowers your own status. And I said long ago that the Mu family's daughter wasn't a good match. It was you and grandma who insisted on proposing." Madame Tsin was left speechless, looking more like a sulky little girl instead. Fingering his prayer beads, Tsin Shaoqing continued preaching. "Besides, the meaning of life is not limited to marriage and children." The old lady's head throbbed. Her grandson looked so ascetic he seemed ready to shave his head and become a monk any minute. She clutched her chest dramatically and shouted, "My chest feels tight. I can't breathe." Madame Tsin cried out in panic, rushing over. One hand held her mother-in-law, the other fanned her chest, and she still scolded her son. "Look how worried you made grandma. No matter what, you must get married. Grandma and I will find you a good wife." But the moment she finished speaking, the incense burning in the censer suddenly snapped in half. Behind the door, little Broly, who was secretly watching the drama, nearly burst out laughing. Tsin Shaoqing frowned slightly. He knew there was no escaping this marriage pressure. He would need to find a once-and-for-all solution. Meanwhile, the fake rich daughter working in her mother's place instantly became the barbecue shop's living mascot thanks to her youthful, pretty looks. Customers lined up nonstop to eat there. The shop owner was grinning from ear to ear. After a whole busy day, they finally closed. Instead of going home, Yijua pulled her mother along to an herbal medicine shop to get supplements for her recovery. The medicines were ready, but more than half of the startup money she won at the casino was gone. She would clearly need to find a way to earn more money soon. The shop owner took the prescription and looked at the young girl in surprise. "You wrote this formula for treating blood deficiency?" Yijua nodded calmly. The owner looked utterly stunned. "This prescription looks like it was written by an old traditional doctor with decades of experience. And even the handwriting has that seasoned touch. You're so young. Are you really skilled in traditional medicine? Can you leave me a number?" Yijua nodded. My phone was lost. "This is my uncle's number. If you need anything, call him directly." Ye's mother asked nervously, "Did these medicines cost a lot of money?" Yijua smiled and patted her mother's hand. "Money can always be earned again. But if your life is gone, nothing else matters." The shop owner handed over the packed herbs. "The girl is right. Compared to health, money is nothing. Sister, you truly raised a very filial daughter." Leaving the herbal shop, the mother and daughter headed to the market. planning to buy fish and meat to nourish her mother. Her body had been worn down for years. Looking at her sensible and capable daughter, Ye's mother's eyes turned red again. Meanwhile, the real rich daughter returned to the Mu family and adapted quickly to her pampered high-class life. Her soft, delicate White Lotus persona completely won over her parents. Father Mu said with satisfaction, "Our daughter behaves so elegantly and generously, you'd never guess she grew up outside." Madame Mu was proud as well. Compared to the previous arrogant fake princess, the difference was like heaven and earth. That we must find our daughter a well-matched, respectable family. Father Mu nodded, though what he cared about more was the benefits and interests brought by a business marriage. Their whole conversation was overheard word for word by Mu Yorong, who was hiding behind the wall. She believed that only the most powerful tycoons were worthy of her. After all, she was the chosen daughter of destiny. At that moment, a mechanical notification suddenly echoed in her mind. The long-dormant system unexpectedly awakened. "Dear host, do you have any commands?" As if being reborn together with the fake daughter wasn't enough, she even had a top-tech ultimate system. In her previous life, she misjudged people and married a beast in human skin, living miserably and dying in agony and despair. But at the very moment her soul was heading toward the afterlife, the dog die system suddenly awakened, telling her it had already bound the perfect life system to her. Since the host was about to die, it could grant her one chance to be reborn and asked whether she wanted to use it. Mu Yorong's breathing turned rapid. With the last trace of strength, she nodded fiercely. The dog die system immediately activated the rebirth channel for her. 5 minutes later, the girl lying on the bed suddenly opened her eyes. She had actually come back to life. She looked around the room. This was still the poverty-stricken Yi household. She quickly sat up and grabbed the mirror on the bedside table. She really had returned to being 17. With a system, she now had the ability to change her fate. Her looks and background were already better than in her previous life. She just didn't know what her true destined partner would be like. Anyway, he had to be handsome, wealthy, powerful, and madly devoted to her. She immediately summoned the system and asked it to list all the skills she could exchange. Dog Die calculated quickly and told her she currently had 200 reputation points. Then it listed out the required points for each skill one by one. Excited, Mu Yorong asked if she could exchange everything at once. Dog Dan instantly issued a mission command, and the girl was confused. There were missions too? At that moment, Dog Dan pulled up the mission details. The perfect life system would help the host become the #1 woman in China, and the final mission was marry the uncrowned king of the business world, Lord Sun 5. Mu Yorong turned pale in shock upon hearing this. She rushed downstairs in a panic, thumping step by step. Then she urgently asked her mother, "The Sun family who came to withdraw the engagement this morning, who exactly did they withdraw from?" Mrs.Mu was just about to bring her daughter some dessert. She said, puzzled, it was their 5th master. He is also the current head of the Sun family. Mu Yorong felt regret so intense it nearly crushed her. She missed a step and fell straight down the stairs, shocking Mrs.Mu out of her wits. The whole family scrambled around before finally settling the girl back onto the bed. The couple stared at each other, completely confused about what had triggered her. Lying on the bed, Mu Yorong felt like dying. Her mission from the system was to win over Lord Sun 5 and marry him. But wasn't the Sun family in a financial crisis, almost going bankrupt? That was why she rejected the engagement face-to-face, to make them give up. Who could tell her why it turned out like this? Were the rumors fake, or would the Sun family overcome everything and become the top business clan? But now she had to complete the mission to get what she wanted from the system. The urgent problem was how to win Sun 5's heart back. So she immediately summoned the sleeping Dog Die again. With sparkling eyes, she asked what she could exchange with 200 reputation points. On a panel invisible to others, a person's profile popped up. Li Qiandong, male, 28, eldest son of one of the top 10 families in the capital, heir to the Li family with assets over 100 billion. Most importantly, he was Lord Sun 5's close friend and true brother. Dog Dan suggested she first exchange for the hypnosis skill so she could confuse young Master Li and quickly get closer to Sun 5. Mu Yorong thought for a few seconds, then told Dog Dai to check Li Qiandong's upcoming schedule. and used the remaining 100 points to exchange for the chess master skill to boost her reputation. Dog Dai executed all the commands quickly, just as the host requested. The corners of Mu Yorong's lips curled into a confident smile of certainty. The next day at the entrance of the Li Group shopping mall, a group of suited men surrounded a young figure as they walked out. The man at the front was none other than the eternal trouble magnet, Li Qiandong. As soon as he stepped out of the mall, he saw a girl in a white dress, half squatting in front of a grimy little boy, gently wiping the snot bubbles from his face. She asked how old he was and whether he'd been separated from his family. The boy cried and said he'd run out by himself. Mu Yorong held his little hand. It's dangerous for you to be out alone. Let big sister take you home, okay? The boy nodded in confusion. Seeing this warm scene, Li Qiandong unconsciously slowed his steps. Just as he planned to tell his assistant to investigate the girl, Mu Yorong secretly activated the hypnosis skill on him. This ability could implant a specific subconscious idea into the target. Li Qiandong's gaze instantly went blank, his mind looping the same sentence. Mu Yorong is the kindest and purest girl in the world, a perfect match for Tsun 5. They're meant to be. After repeated subconscious imprinting, he murmured reflexively, "What a beautiful and kind-hearted girl." The assistants were stunned, completely dumbfounded. Wasn't that the Mu family's young lady who had just broken off her engagement with Tsun 5th master? The eternally unlucky Li Qiandong acted as if he were possessed. Impossible, there must be some misunderstanding. Someone who's so gentle to children couldn't possibly look down on the poor. At this moment, Mu Yorong was the perfect goddess in his eyes, and his assistants even suspected that their young master had been bewitched. But Li Qiandong was like a love-fueled warrior on steroids. He was determined to make fifth brother see how amazing Mu Yorong was, and help them become a true couple. The assistants watched their young master acting strangely, exchanging confused looks. They wondered if he had some major illness. After returning from the market, Yishua walked into the kitchen and began frying, stir-frying and cooking all at once. Her mother watched her skilled movements in surprise. She never expected her daughter, a pampered heiress for so many years, to actually know how to cook. Yishua smiled and explained that she'd learned a bit of cooking back in the Mu family. She was really good at it and told her mom not to underestimate her. Ye's mother felt her nose sting and happily helped wash the vegetables, feeling this was finally enjoying her daughter's care. Her cheap uncle followed the smell and poked his head in, asking his sister what delicious dish she was making, saying her cooking must have improved again. Ye's mother cheerfully placed the braised pork on the table. It was all made by Xiaozhua. She told him to try it. The uncle grabbed a piece and stuffed it into his mouth immediately, almost moved to tears by how good it tasted, giving his niece a big thumbs up. The family enjoyed a warm and hearty dinner together. Simple, cozy, and full of happiness. The next day, Yishua went to the skewer shop as usual to help her mother with work. The lady boss reminded her that from opening until closing, customers would keep coming, and there would be all kinds of tasks to handle. If she didn't understand something, she could ask any time. Yishua changed into her work uniform and worked responsibly, busy like a spinning top. Because she was beautiful and friendly, customers kept coming non-stop from morning till night. She didn't notice that an elderly lady with gray hair was hiding in a corner, secretly watching her the whole time. The more the old lady looked, the more she liked her. What a beautiful and capable girl. A temperament and appearance like hers hadn't appeared in the upper circles of Yunjing for a long time, and she was a perfect match for her grandson, who spent his days chanting scriptures and nearly becoming a monk. After sending off another wave of customers, Yishua finally sensed that faint, lingering gaze. The old lady quickly hid behind the wall, relieved she wasn't caught. Seeing how sharp the girl was made her like her even more, and she decided to find a chance to test the girl's character. The lady boss, busy taking payments, was also very satisfied. She never expected to find such a treasure. The girl was pretty, sweet-mouthed, and not the least bit pretentious. She poured Yishua a glass of water and told her to take a short break. The girl accepted it with both hands, smiled, and thanked her. Seeing how polite she was, the lady boss liked her even more. After work, Yishua had just stepped out of the barbecue shop. She saw her cheap uncle standing across the road, waving and shouting at her. She ran over and asked why he came. Yisun chuckled and said, Your mom said it's unsafe for a girl to walk at night, so she asked me to pick you up. A warm feeling rose in Yijhua's heart. A strong person in another world. She had always been the one protecting others, and it felt like this was the first time someone in her family protected her. Yisun cleared his throat and said awkwardly, when we get home, you go upstairs first, okay? I have to work overtime tonight. After speaking, he turned around wanting to slip away, but such a trick couldn't fool his sharp-minded niece. Yijhua grabbed his collar from behind. Cut it out. Where exactly are you going? Half an hour later, the two of them stood in front of the luxurious Yunjin club. Yisun hugged his niece's leg and wailed, please just let your uncle play one more time, okay? Yijhua remained unmoved. Mom would be angry if she knew. She hates gambling the most. Hearing this, Yisun shouted in fear, don't tell your sister. Yijhua was speechless. If he knew this was a bad place, why did he keep coming? With tears in his eyes, Yisun looked up. I need money. Didn't I give you everything I won before? I want to try my luck again. Win a bit so we can move out of that dark and damp basement. Your mom has worked herself to exhaustion these years. I don't want her to suffer anymore. But delivering packages earns too little, and there's no future if I don't gamble. What other way do I have? Yijhua froze for a moment. She didn't expect her money-obsessed uncle's dream of getting rich overnight was actually for the family. Seeing her expression soften, Yisun pleaded pitifully, please don't tell your mom. She really will break my legs. Although Yizhua's view of her gambling addict uncle changed a little, making money by gambling was unacceptable. She had to make him give up completely, so she pulled out a thick wooden stick from behind like performing a trick. If you keep losing, the debt collectors will break your legs anyway. I'll do it first for mom. With that, she swung the stick down. Yisun stumbled back several steps, collapsed to the ground, staring at the shattered tiles in front of him. Terrified, he shouted, you girl. Which leg were you planning to break? Do you want our Yi family to end with me? Yijhua patted the wooden stick innocently. Oops, slipped. Won't happen next time. Hearing next time, her cheap uncle nearly wet himself and hurriedly said he knew he was wrong and would never gamble again. Yijhua tossed the stick aside. That's more like it. Let's go. Why? Yisun scrambled up and asked where. The girl walked straight into the club entrance. Didn't you say no gambling? Yisun asked. Why? Yijhua turned back with a sly smile. I have a faster and better way to make money. Interested? The fake rich daughter, an innocent girl working at a barbecue shop by day, turned into a seductive wildcat in the casino at night. The money-crazy uncle was so shocked by his niece's look that his eyes nearly popped out. Yijhua motioned for him to look at the drunk men wobbling around in the restroom. Her cheap uncle glanced over with disgust, full of question marks, not understanding what she meant. Yijhua flipped her hair with a flirtatious charm. A top-tier club like this is full of business opportunities that I can sell. Before she could finish, her uncle's face changed instantly. He grabbed her leg and wailed, absolutely not. My dear niece, how can you fall so low and sell your body? You might as well break my legs right now. If your mom finds out, I'm done for. Yijhua couldn't stand it anymore and kicked him 3 meters away. What nonsense are you talking about? Then she took out a small bottle from her bag. I mean, we can sell these to them. Super strong hangover pills. At that moment, a heavily drunk man pushed open the VIP room door, planning to wash his face and sober up. Holding his aching stomach, he staggered forward. Days of overeating and drinking for business had already wrecked his liver. All the money he earned now would become future medical bills. When he looked up, he saw a middle-aged man blocking a young girl. Do you still have those super hangover pills? Can you sell me 2 more? The girl held the little bottle, looking reluctant. We hostesses drink all day and it ruins our bodies. This is a secret formula I paid a lot to get from an old doctor. I don't have many left. The middle-aged man pulled out a stack of 100 yuan bills. 1 pill is fine too. Your hangover pill is amazing. 1 dose and I sober up. I'm negotiating with my boss right now. I need it. The drunken man hiding in the corner stared at the dark little pill. Half believing, half doubting, could it really work? But his stomach felt like it was burning, so he decided to take the gamble. He called the girl over and bought 1. And just like that, their very first sale was made. Once the man walked away, the drama king uncle peeked out again. He whispered, if we work together to fool people like this, we'll get caught sooner or later. Yijhua smiled with full confidence. I didn't fool anyone. Just wait and see. 10 minutes later, sure enough, the man rushed back at full speed. Holding a stack of bills, he shouted excitedly, "Miss, do you still have those hangover pills? I'll take them all." The club was packed with people discussing business. It didn't take long before the so-called miracle hangover medicine was completely sold out. The money-obsessed uncle stared at his niece counting the cash, his jaw nearly dropping. "We sold pills together for just one night and made 12,000? Yijue handed him the money. 2,000 was the cost. The remaining 10,000 is pure profit. Her uncle stuttered from excitement. My goodness. Knowledge really changes fate. This equals 2 months of courier work. Yijue chuckled and asked, "Want me to punch you once to confirm it's real?" While the two celebrated happily, neither noticed a Rolls-Royce speeding past them. Li Qiandong glanced out the window with disdain. Why is that fake heiress out here again? Dressing like that and acting all flirty. Did she hear some rumors and come here on purpose to hook you or something? Sitting in the back seat, Sun Wuye rolled the prayer beads in his hand. "Do you think I'm like you?" Li Xiao choked and coughed. "I may be a flirt, but I have principles, okay? I never touch truly pure girls. Like the real Mu heiress, Mu Yorong, she's pure and kind, loves kids, and is as white as a blank sheet, untouched by the world." To get close to Sun Wuye, Mu Yorong's hypnosis skill clearly worked on him. Sun Shaoqing looked like he'd seen a ghost. "What nonsense are you spouting? I know better than you what kind of woman she is." Li Qiandong argued hard. "Miss Mu really isn't the vain type. You can't lose such a good girl over a misunderstanding about the engagement." Sun Shaoqing didn't want to waste breath on this fool. "Since you've got energy to waste on women, have you finished the secondary data design task yet?" Li Qiandong sobered up instantly. "Not yet. I'm still trying to find a top hacker." Sun Wuye snapped. "Then talk less and work more." Li Qiandong immediately shut his mouth, terrified he'd say something wrong again and set him off. Meanwhile, the grandmother, terrified her only grandson might become a monk, accidentally set her sights on the fake heiress. After observing her for a while, she decided to test the girl's character. As usual, Yijue arrived at the barbecue shop to work in her mother's place. She was rushing around serving customers. Suddenly, an old lady in ragged clothes, leaning on a crutch and begging, came into the shop. These days there are too many scammers, so most people just ignore elderly beggars like this. When Yijue saw the old woman, her nose stung, because the lady reminded her of the orphanage director from the other world. She hadn't even had the chance to repay that kindness before she was blown up and transmigrated here. Yijue hurried over, invited the old lady to sit, and asked gently what she wanted to eat. The old lady was secretly thrilled. The girl had taken the bait, so it was time to test her future granddaughter-in-law. Pretending to be uneasy, she asked, "Are you really treating me?" The girl nodded firmly. The old lady chuckled. "Then I won't hold back." She proceeded to order more than a dozen dishes. Sea cucumber, abalone, lobster, everything expensive. The customers watching whispered, thinking the old woman must be trying to eat for free. Yijue was also surprised. Could this grandma really eat that much? The old lady probed, asking, "Did I order too much?" She purposely made such an unreasonable request just to see if the girl would lose her temper. Yijue waved her hands quickly. No. Please rest here for a moment. I'll get everything ready." The sharp-eyed shop owner stopped her, saying she didn't trust it. "That old lady's skin is way too well kept. She doesn't look like a poor beggar. Don't let yourself get played." Yijue shook her head, saying it was fine. Maybe the woman's family had fallen on hard times and she just wanted a good meal. I'll cover her bill. She too had noticed the grandma's unusual appearance and odd requests, but it was just a few extra dishes, nothing serious. The owner kept warning her to stay cautious, saying she felt the old lady didn't have good intentions. But Yijue simply dashed into the kitchen to keep working. 10 minutes later, a whole table of fragrant, delicious dishes was ready. The old lady ate while watching the girl out of the corner of her eye, her gaze full of satisfaction. This girl was just too nice, pretty, kind-hearted, and even had a lovely voice. Even if she were just a pretty vase placed around every day, she'd be pleasing to look at, enough to extend one's lifespan. Soon she finished eating. The table was a mess of empty plates. The old lady wiped her mouth and waved at the girl again. "Could you pour me a glass of water?" Yijue immediately jogged over with a cup, reminding her gently to be careful. It was hot. Even after all this running around, she didn't complain. The old lady grew even more satisfied and asked with a smile, "What's your name, girl?" Yizhua smiled. I'm Yizhua. You can call me Xiaoyi. The old lady beamed. What a good child. Then from now on I'll call you Yezi, and you can call me Grandma Tsun. She lifted the packed dinner box and waved goodbye. The shop owner watched the beggar granny leave with food in hand and scoffed. See? You helped her and she just walked off without a word. Total scammer. But Yizhua didn't mind, she simply felt the old woman was pitiful. The old lady reached the roadside and made a call. It's done. Pick me up at the intersection ahead. Moments later, a luxurious Bentley pulled up in front of her. The driver saw the normally jewel-covered matriarch dressed in rags and humming, and asked curiously, Madam, are you cosplaying today? The old lady pushed her glasses up, grunted and didn't answer. In her mind she thought, grandson, I finally found your destined wife, monk life, emptiness of all things. Huh. But this old woman will drag you back into worldly love even if I have to tie you up. Meanwhile, the sexy little wildcat and her money-crazy uncle came to the elite club every night. Working in perfect sync, they relied on their secret super hangover cure and made a fortune. In the VIP room on the second floor, Li Qiandong leaned on the railing and clicked his tongue. That fake heiress is out fooling people again. Still dressed in that seductive, revealing style, checking in every night, chatting with all kinds of men. In his eyes she was obviously hunting for some rich, clueless sucker. Sun Wuye lifted his head from a pile of documents, wondering what she would do next. Li scoffed again, saying the label on Yizhua was simple. A tacky gold digger, she'll definitely keep coming every single night until she hooks a real whale. Sun Shaoqing shot him a sideways look. Not gonna lie, your intuition is always terrible. Li Qiandong instantly exploded. Women who keep hanging around nightclubs, how can they be good? Compared to them, the real heiress of the Mu family is way better. Pure, kind, elegant. Fifth Master Tsun saw he was going crazy again, rubbed his forehead and cut him off. Go check that plot of land in the East District tomorrow. Give me the evaluation report as soon as possible. The miserable little underling shut his mouth at once, secretly cursing that fifth brother was way too harsh. The next day, the youthful beauty Yizhua showed up at the barbecue shop to help her mother as usual. While serving dishes, a sunny, handsome boy gathered his courage. Miss, can I take a photo with you? Yizhua smiled and declined. Sorry, I don't like taking photos. The boy refused to give up and asked again then, can I add your WeChat? The moment he said that, the boys at other tables all gathered around. Yizhua said the truth, I don't have a phone. The boy sighed in disappointment, you're really adorable. I come here every day just to see you. Yizhua ignored this small incident and continued serving customers. Two girls draped in designer brands happened to walk past the entrance, and suddenly noticed Yizhua cleaning tables inside the shop, looking utterly stunned. Wasn't she kicked out of the Mu family and cut off completely? They hadn't seen her for just over 10 days, yet she looked like a totally different person, so they decided to take a closer look. Hiding by the door to spy, they saw Yizhua smiling as she handed a little boy a lollipop after he finished his meal. After confirming again and again, it really was Yizhua. Barefaced, no makeup, nothing like the mess she used to look like when she hung out with them. Lin Wuye's face twisted with jealousy. Didn't you see all those men staring at her? Typical cheap flirt, always finding new ways to hook people. Sun Ro hesitated. Forget it. She's already a broke nobody now. No need to stir up trouble. We still have shopping to do. Don't let her ruin the mood. Lin Wuye snorted. She still has that face she uses to seduce people everywhere. She immediately pulled out her phone and made a call, asking if the eldest miss of the Mu family was home. Enjoying her pampered life, Mu Yorong took the phone from her butler and asked what was going on. She already had no good feelings toward Yizhua or Tsun Ro, fake best friends. And she knew Lin Wuye was only trying to curry favor with the Mu family for her own gain. So Lin Wuye asked sweetly if she wanted to come watch a good show. Mu Yorong let out a disdainful laugh. You mean Yizhua, the one thrown out? A broke, pathetic stray dog. What's there to see? I'm busy and not interested. Just as she was about to hang up, the Godai system suddenly activated. Yizhua is a dangerous variable. To the host, she poses extreme danger. Mu Yorong froze for a moment and quickly asked what that meant. The system issued a red level alert immediately, advising the host to eliminate Yizhua at once.